Hello everybody, welcome to Leg Up. I'm Kirsten. My co-organiser Martha unfortunately is not well tonight, so she couldn't make it, but she is watching from home. Hello Martha! Okay, housekeeping. Toilets are over there, there's water outside. I have no idea where the fire escapes are, but I'm sure you're smart enough to find them in case of a crisis. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I know the weather's awful, so I really appreciate you coming out. And for those of you watching from home, we appreciate you being there as well. Tonight's focus is all about crowdfunding and how to raise money for your game or app from the dear old public. So we've got three very interesting speakers for you tonight. Format is first speaker, audience Q&A, second speaker, audience Q&A. We'll have a short networking break. And then our final speaker, and then we'll all be heading to the pub down the road. Yay! So, without further ado, I'm really pleased to see our first speaker. He's a veteran of Leg Up, and always gives good talk. So, without further ado, Mr. James Wallis.
Hello, good evening. That is right. I'll try and stand over here so you can look at this rather than at me. Hello, yes, because I forgot to put a nice bland screen on the front of this, as you are now all well aware. My name is James Wallis. I come from space, a game consultancy I run. We do consulting for brands. We build games for people as part of training exercises and stuff like that. Clients, last year's clients, we had Greenpeace and Shell at the same time, which was kind of interesting. We did a card game for Carlsberg, that kind of stuff. And we also developed games commercially. And last year I did a Kickstarter, which is why I'm here. Kickstarter can have a bad reputation in some areas. Some projects don't go terribly well. Some projects don't deliver at all. Someone tweeted this yesterday. I thought it was just perfect. I've backed quite a lot of Kickstarters myself. I've had some really lovely products come back. I've had some literally the ugliest book I've ever seen arrived as the result of a Kickstarter. But the thing about running a Kickstarter is that it's a science. I am absolutely convinced that it is a science, and in fact, if I was given enough money and enough time, I could work out an algorithm that would build the perfect Kickstarter. In fact, I should probably run a Kickstarter to fund that. But it's a game of metrics, basically. There's a lot of things you can do when building a Kickstarter project, when building a Kickstarter page and running the project itself, which will add 2 or 3% to the amount that you take. You do them all at the right time in the right way, you can make an extraordinary amount of money. And when I say an extraordinary amount of money, it does depend what you're doing. It's not all about, oh, I've got this idea for a thing made out of old cotton reels. I'll make $1 million. That's not going to happen. Some things do really well because Kickstarter has a geek audience. This is kind of ad hoc. It does change. It does vary. Amanda Palmer's on there because she's only had one massively successful Kickstarter. Cthulhu. Add Cthulhu to anything, your take goes up 20%. It's as simple as that. I'm not suggesting that your educational project necessarily needs the Dark Elder God who sleeps at Relia, if that's how it's pronounced, and I rather hope it isn't. Not necessarily the best thing for all educational projects, though you never know. A friend of mine did a zombie-based educational project last year, a board game. It failed utterly. We'll come back to him. The thing is that people aren't hot on. That's probably going to make a lot of you fairly unhappy. Apps don't tend to do... They fund. Apps fund regularly. The thing about Kickstarter... Are you familiar with Kickstarter? Do you know what it is? I'm talking about Kickstarter because that's the one I'm familiar with. There are many, many crowdfunding platforms out there. There are UK-specific ones. There are genre-specific ones. There is no big kind of way of comparing them. There is no way you can go compare for these things. Sorry. But Kickstarter is the familiar. And basically, when you run a Kickstarter project, you say, I want this much money, and I've got this amount of time. And I think you can set up to 60 days, though 30 is the usual. And if you do not raise that amount of money in that time, you get nothing. Indiegogo and some of the others is different. You can say, well, even if we only partially fund, we'll still get all your money. I tend to think that's a very bad thing. If you've put together a project and you said, okay, well, this is going to take £10,000 to make, for example, excuse me, and then you only raise 5, well, somehow now you have to deliver that project on half your original budget, or you've still got to find £5,000 from somewhere else. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's best to go for all or nothing. So apps do fund, but they tend to fund round about the 100% mark. That can be great. You've got all the money you need. But the great advantage of Kickstarter, where Kickstarter gets really exciting, is where projects go overfunded. What do I mean by that? This is Kano. Kano is a British project that recently funded. They asked for $100,000. They made $1.5 million. That's not exceptional. And Kano is an educational project. It is a build, if you didn't come across it, it's a build-your-own-computer thing. It's based on the Raspberry Pi. You get a Pi, you get this nice little case, you get a keyboard. I think there's a mouse or something. No, trackpad in there. But you also get built-in software, so it's not only build-your-own-computer, it's also learn programming. And it's orange. It's for kids. I backed it. Yes. Danny O'Brien, some of you probably know Danny. If Danny backs something, everyone should back it. Here's another one. This is another educational project. This is a board game. It's a board game to teach computer programming, specifically the language Logo, which some of you will remember from back in the day. They asked for $25,000. They made $631,000. That's quite a lot for funding a board game. It's 13,000 backers. These things can go completely berserk. I didn't back that one because the trouble with the board game is that it's heavy. They are making this in America. The shipping charges were just ghastly. Literally, it was like, I think it was $25 for the board game and $25 to ship it to you. I'll pass. It is a problem. We'll come back to that. Magicians. This is a tabletop role-playing game. The old Dungeons & Dragons style of thing. Admittedly, it's moved on a lot since then. This is a game that teaches you how to speak Korean. It's an educational tabletop role-play game. Niche product. 1,000 backers. Asked for 3,000, made 34,000. What are they going to do with that money? I don't know. I'll show you, actually, what some friends of mine did. They had a massively successful Kickstarter about a year and a half ago for a project called Hillfolk, which was going to be about this size. This is the aforementioned ugliest book I've ever seen, which was kickstarted. They asked for £3,000, mostly to cover artwork. They made $3,000. They made $93,000. And they did not one hardback, they did this hardback and a second volume the same size. So if you'd backed, paying $25, expecting to get a little but very good book like that, and you ended up with 2 hardbacks, whoa! As a backer, you were suddenly an evangelist. You were suddenly, Kickstarter is the thing, these guys are the people. So it's an amazingly exciting medium, and a very exciting way of funding projects. Now, I'm going to get a bit nutsy-boltsy about how one puts it together, how it all breaks down over time. The 6th stage, I'm also going to rush through it, and there are certain things I can't cover. I can talk about this almost literally all day, and I will if you pay me. We'll come back to that. Work out your project, in particular the budget. Work out what it's going to cost, and then strip it down. What is the least amount of money you can make the smallest build for? Then think about, well, what else can you add into it to make the project you really want to? Those will become your stretch goals. If the project overfunds, if you get past your basic funding level, you say, okay, well, what we need 5,000 to build this. But if we get 8,000, then we can build in this feature. If we get 10,000, then we can add in this. 12,000, we can get in this name artist to do all the artwork. And for 20,000, we can get Hans Zimmer to do the soundtrack. Or whatever, and people get really excited by that. Set up your page. Setting up a Kickstarter page is a science. Pre-publicize. Let people know it's happening in advance. The number of people who create a Kickstarter page and just put it live without telling anyone that it's happening is extraordinary. If you dig down on Kickstarter past the, this project is massively successful, this project is massively successful, this camera, this smartwatch, this collection of herbs, whatever. Kickstarter is massively diverse. It's really interesting. Very, very soon, you will start hitting projects that have literally no backers at all. I'm not talking are asking for £5,000 and have got £150. I'm talking no backers. Kickstarter, well, I'll come on to that in a moment. Anyway, run the campaign. Come to that. Finish up and deliver. Delivery, the hard part. The main page. Putting your page together. I'll let you read that. And then I'm going to read it out. Please, please let someone who knows this stuff read over your page before you put it live. And if they suggest changes, then pay attention. I won't read out the line at the bottom. You can read that yourself. I mentioned the guy with the zombie board game. He's a friend of a friend. I looked at his putative page. I said, this is nice, but you've got some problems here. You need to adjust this. You need to change the tone of the language. You need to be a lot more upbeat. You need to say that the project is basically finished, but you need this funding to just finish it off. That's important as well. Never say, I've got this idea for a thing, pay me. Say, I've worked on this thing for 2 or 3 years. All I need now is the capital to just push it over the edge. People really like that. They respond to that much better. So anyway, so this guy, I made a lot of suggested changes. He said, I don't have the time. Put it live. I think his page raised £150 in funding before he killed it. And you can pull, that's another thing. If your project looks like it's not going to fund, I'll come on to why it may not, just pull it. Don't let it stagger on to the gruesome end and let people see your failure. Just pull it. Revise the page. Relaunch it later on. Happens. An awful lot of people do it an awful lot of the time. Right, reward levels on the Kickstarter page. This is the main thing I'm going to talk about, and one other thing. The reward levels are what people get in return for backing your project. And Kickstarter is, to a very large extent, a system for pre-ordering. They're not backing it because they love you. They're backing it because they want to get something in return. It may be they'll be backing it because it's something associated with you. They love you as a company. They're interested in what you're doing as a creative. But that's why they're backing it, because they're going to get something in return. So upsell like you're on commission. Try and construct the levels so that people are going, oh, but if I put in £20, then I'll get the thing. But if I put in 25, I'll get the deluxe thing. Oh, but 30 is the hardback, and then £40 is the signed hardback. Before they know where they are, they came in expecting to spend £20. They spent 55 because they've gone for an art print as well. It's fairly safe. If you don't know about price dynamics and stuff like that, I can talk about this endlessly. Dan Ariely is your man. Predictably Irrational is the book. Read it. I still sell some PDFs. I read that book. I read the first chapter and a half of that book, went online, restructured the pricing levels of the PDFs I was then selling. My monthly take went up 50% and remained 50% up consistently. He knows his stuff. Always have a £1 reward because it makes everything else look a little bit more interesting thereafter. Very few people will back it, but it's psychologically important. Likewise, it's very important to have the top level. You cannot have a reward higher than $5,000. For mine, I offered to fly 2 people to Las Vegas for a long weekend where I would run the game for them and introduce them to noted game makers and stuff. Nobody went for it. I know at least one person was seriously thinking about it. Nobody went for it. But the reason you have that really high price thing is it makes everything else look cheaper in comparison. It's why there's the £150 bottle of wine on a wine list. Or in some cases, the £500 bottle of wine on the wine list. Keep rewards digital if you possibly can, because they are dead easy to deliver and very cheap to deliver as well. You don't have to get into shipping that way. Anyway, the other thing, should your page have a video? There you go. Yes, the estimate I've seen says 85%. You will get 85% more interest in your page if you have a video on it. Not everyone will watch the video, but if you can't be bothered to put a video up, why should they be interested in your site? Okay, number one mistake people make. Kickstarter will not bring you an audience. I'm going to read this one out. So Kickstarter lets your existing audience or an existing audience show how much they love you, or how much they are interested in the project. But this is why there are all the dead projects out there. Kickstarter does not have fans. Kickstarter, it's like Just Giving. It's people don't browse through Just Giving looking for interesting charities to back. I don't know, maybe there are some people who do. If there are, I've never met them. But that's where people go wrong. You have to understand that Kickstarter is a medium, it is not a destination in its own right. Pre-publicity, this is really, really important. Let everyone know that this thing is happening. Build buzz, I'm going to read this out, I'm sorry. Build a community or harness an existing one. License something. Get established creatives involved. You might, on the original slide of what people like on Kickstarter or don't like on Kickstarter, the difference in games from established teams or built on established IP versus games from new teams. Some of the biggest Kickstarters of all time have been games from studios with an established track record, studios with a very large fan base. And they've not been doing games as part of an established franchise. They've not been doing the next volume of Monkey Island. They've been doing completely new stuff. But they've still made millions of dollars off it. So if you can bring in people who have a fan base, if you've got people on your team who have a fan base or have a constituency, part of the reason I did my Kickstarter was to test the water to see if I had a fan base out there. This sounds enormously egotistical. I asked for £3,000 to cover the artwork costs for a little self-published thing. It funded in 8 hours. We made 24,000 on it. That's sterling, not dollars. So I guess I do. But anyway, and create evangelists. That's the other thing about Kickstarter. It's all about virality. It's all about spreading the word. If you can create a page that gets people excited enough to just hit retweet or Facebook or whatever else, they'll do the job for you. And when projects do get really big, they do go viral, and they start ending up in the papers. But the problem is, you can't just send out a press release saying I'm doing a Kickstarter anymore, because that's dull. That day's gone. That wasn't even last year. That was the year before. So you have to come up with stories. The page has to tell a story, and you have to come up with the marketing story for the whole thing, for the campaign, for why this is an interesting project, and why people should back it, and why people should talk about it and publicize it for you. Because the bottom line is, I may be talking a lot about community and stuff, but fundamentally, it's all about the Benjamins. So, the anatomy of a Kickstarter, once you've actually pressed the button and it's gone live, you should, if you've done it right up to this point, you will have a strong opening. Mine funded in 8 hours. My office mates who are doing one at the moment asked for $4,000. Did I mention this? Asked for $4,000, funded in 2.5 hours. Currently running, I think, at 1,000% above original ask, and they're only a week in. We'll come back to them in a moment. Anyway, so you'll have a strong opening, and that will last 3 to 5 days. Then it will slow right down, and you will think, oh God, I did something dreadfully, dreadfully wrong. It's a catastrophe. It's all going to go horrible. And then it'll pick up again right towards the end. And the breakdown is basically you'll take a third, and it doesn't matter how long the slow bit in the middle is. If you choose to run the project over a fortnight or over 45 days or 60 days, it's a third and a third and a third. I mean, this is a rule of thumb, but that's the way it seems to break down from all the ones I've looked at. And this is Wallis's rule of thumb. And that's the hard and bitter truth. If you have not raised 1/3 of your goal in the first 5 days, you might as well cancel the project at that point. Certainly, if you're nowhere near 1/3, there was a lovely project run by some lovely people to do an operetta, and they'd done everything wrong. And they put the page together horribly. They'd made it live in the middle of the night. Think exactly when you put the project live, because it will stop exactly at that time 30 days later. So if you put it live at 2 in the morning, it's going to stop at 2 in the morning when nobody is paying attention to it. And if you are close to your funding goal, if it's like you're 300 away and you're desperately tweeting, please someone back us, and everyone's asleep in bed, wrong. It's a science, like I said. So that's the hard and bitter truth of Kickstarter. That underlies pretty much everything. If you haven't got the groundswell of interest that propels you through the first 5 days to a third of your funding target, then pull the page down, rejig it, rethink it, reword it, rethink not just the campaign but also the product and everything else. there are tools that can help you. This is KickTrack. KickTrack is an independent website that tracks Kickstarters and produces interesting graphs. This is the one run by my office mates, which I mentioned. Oh, 1,120% of their goal at the moment. It's a tabletop role-play game called Time Watch. They asked, as I said, for 4,000, currently on 44,000. And KickTrack reckons they're going to make 160,000. 3 or 4 days ago, KickTrack reckoned they were going to top out at $400,000. The problem with KickTrack is that KickTrack is bollocks. You look at it in hindsight, and it's really useful for tracking what has happened. In terms of predicting what's going to happen, useless. Completely useless. Everyone would say, are you using KickTrack? Are you paying attention to KickTrack? KickTrack's arse. And then, let's assume you get there. Let's assume it finishes. Then you have to deliver. 2 problems with this. Now you actually have to make it, and now you actually have to deliver it. International shipping is really expensive. Kickstarter is an international website. You will pull in, you will attract people and backers from all over the world. Obscure territories you had no idea even had post offices. And they will want your product. And Kickstarter will not help. And when I say Kickstarter will not help, what Kickstarter does when a project finishes is it kind of goes, okay, cheers, thanks, here's your money, less our fee, which I think is about 10% at the moment. Oh, and here's the data on your backers, which is to say their names, their email address, the level at which they backed your project. And we're going to give it to you in a comma-delineated text file, a CSV file. Lovely. So very 20th century of them. Oh, and you can poll. You can send out little surveys to your backers, but you can only send out 1 survey per backer level. So if you want to check or ask everyone, for example, some useful information that might be useful to delivery, like their address, then you can do that. But then if you go, oh, and your t-shirt size, no problems. Thank goodness. Oh, ignore that. Backer kit. Write down backer kit. Write it down twice and underline it. They're another independent website. They will take a percentage of the amount of money you've made on Kickstarter. They will run this stuff for you. They're really good. They will basically produce shipping lists, and they will allow you to talk to your backers and and poll them and survey them and find out exactly what it is they want. You should stay in touch with your backers at all time. You should update your Kickstarter page as the thing's going on. It's just the moment that the bar comes down at the end of the project, you can't update the page anymore. You can still send updates to your backers, but you can't really ask them questions. There are a large number of fulfillment houses, particularly in the US. There are some in Europe as well, that will do your shipping for you. If you're doing a physical product, you bulk ship to them, they divide it up, they ship it locally. Some of this stuff doesn't make sense. It is actually more expensive to ship from the US to Canada than it is from here to Canada. You need to research this stuff. If you're doing manufacturing, manufacture close to your largest market if you possibly can. I apologize for reading out slides again. This can be easier than it sounds. If anyone's doing print products, or part of your rewards is print on demand. Companies like Lightning Source are set up all around the world. The project I've done, which is a book, we're going to print it, some in the UK, some in mainland Europe, some in the US. And it's just going to halve our shipping costs. What else have I got? But the principal thing is, this sounds like a lot of work, and it sounds like a lot of concentration, a lot of fiddly details, but the main thing is have fun. Running a Kickstarter is flat out the most fun that I've ever had in the games industry. I've been in the games industry for 30 years now. Kickstarter is a blast. There is nothing like it. You will need to take a month off to run your campaign, because you will sit there staring at the screen waiting for the next pledge to come in. I physically, not this laptop, my last laptop, the reason I got this laptop was I broke the F5 key, the refresh key, on my previous laptop during my Kickstarter. It is amazing, adrenaline-fueled, nothing like it fun. I recommend it as a method of fundraising that does not tie you to VC, that does not tie you to equity holders. All you have to do is deliver a kick-ass project and everyone will be happy. And that's my experience of Kickstarter, and I am available for consultancy. And that's me. Many thanks for listening.
Are you all right?
I'm fine, yes.
Do you want to do some Q&A?
Oh, Q&A, yes. Questions. Hopefully with answers.
I've got a question. We've got about 250,000 registered users in our database.
Mm-hmm.
When do you think it's best to hit them? First day of the campaign, in stages?
Repeat the question back.
Yes, if you've got an existing database of users who would be interested in something like this, when should they be notified? I think in terms of contacting them directly, I would say when the page is up, because they're going to want to go to the page, and if they like it, they're going to want to spend their money right then. But presumably you've got Twitter feeds and Facebook pages and weblogs and all the rest of that. Talk about the thing there so that some of them are aware it's coming up. So that within the little groups, within the special interest groups, buzz can begin to build. People like to be a kind of ahead of the wave. They like to know that things are coming. They like to feel that they're special in some way, rather than just part of a mass mail out. Anyone else?
Yeah. A great video.
Yes.
I took some guys to bed this year because they raised 60 grand on Kickstarter for a thing called Primo, which is a little sort of robot thing that you can program. And it was really interesting because actually the thing I think that got everything was not that it was just the video. The video was great. It looked professionally produced, and at the end of it, everyone was just signing up for it.
Yeah, it's a great. I mean, a great video is good. It's not that important. I mentioned the Hillfolk Kickstarter, asked for 3,000, made 93,000. The video for that was about 90 seconds of the project creator on his webcam, just one take into his webcam, saying, "I'm really excited about this project, please back it." Fuzzy, low res. Mine was recorded on my phone in two takes, well, with one very, very bad edit in the middle, because I am not a film editor. And so yes, having a video is the main thing. Having a good video does really, really help. Particularly if it explains the concept behind the project in a really succinct way. Don't waffle in the video. Don't get self-indulgent. Don't be too long either.
90 seconds would be the max?
No, it depends on the complexity of the project. Depends how much you want. I would say 3 or 4 minutes would probably be the max. But yeah, think of it as an extended advertisement, really. Yes.
The process of doing projects with children. Any tips when you involve children? Any do's and don'ts?
In what way involving children?
Our project is about making a game with children in a school.
So I mean, but you involving children as part of the Kickstarter, or get?
Making a game, working with industry professionals.
Oh, right. Okay, so I'd say mention them as part of the Kickstarter as.
They've made the video. So
Oh, they've made the video already. Okay. I think that sounds. There was a slightly controversial Kickstarter last year of a girl who'd supposedly wanted funding to make a game to show her brothers who didn't think girls could program and stuff like that, and it seemed to transpire that actually it was a pushy mum who was attempting to make quite a lot, who was already very rich, trying to go, well, I'm not going to pony up a few $100 for my daughter to go to programming camp. Let's see if it all got a bit ugly. I'm still not quite sure what the fallout was. So kids and this kind of campaign can be tricky. I think, if done with the proper releases, if it's I'm assuming it's all completely above board, then there shouldn't be a problem. Yeah. I don't see a problem. I think, if it's a kid-based project, put them front and center in the video. I'm trying to think of another one. I've forgotten his name. Someone's Arcade in Los Angeles. I think there was a crowdfunding effort for that. The kid made an amusement arcade out of cardboard boxes because he was bored. And someone happened to and no one would because it was cardboard stuff. And he just did it in his dad's garage. And it was so amazing that this guy basically started making a documentary about it and brought loads and loads of people in, including celebrities, and there's a document, and they made so much money. It wasn't Kickstarter, it was another crowdfunding thing, but they've now actually set up not only enough money for the kid to get a scholarship to college, but enough money to set up, I think, a general kind of scholarship fund for similarly deprived kids with brilliant imaginations. Someone's Arcade, can't think. Dane. Kane's Arcade, that's the one, yes. Search out the YouTube video. It will make you cry in a good way. It's quite brilliant. So, yes. One more question? I see two more questions, actually. Can we make them in the front and then at the back? And
me first?
yes.
As you wish. I'm in the not interested list. One of those that I have some ideas and I would like to do some Kickstarter, but I'm nobody in the world of video games. So show me a way out of this.
I mean, if you okay, of course. If what to do if you don't have a reputation, if you don't have an existing access to a fan base? Well, you can make a really kick-ass game, a really high-concept game that people just hear the idea and they go, "Oh wow, I have to play that. I have to see that." A really good video will always help. A demo reel for a video game is a great way to get that started. The other thing, and something that helped me 20 years ago when I was starting a tabletop games company, is license existing intellectual property. Doesn't necessarily have to be an existing game thing. License a cult film, license a series of novels, go with someone something out of print. You know, Jules Verne, H.G. Wells is still in copyright. I think it's tricky. He is somewhere and he isn't somewhere else. Yeah, basically, if you can attach yourself to an established brand for not too much. The brand I attached my company to 20 years ago was Warhammer. We licensed Warhammer and republished their old tabletop role-play game. And it allowed me to create the first successful British role-playing company since Games Workshop itself. So it's a very good way of creating a cash cow that will then establish your reputation, allow you to go on and do other things. One more.
Actually, it was the same question.
Oh, okay. Well, that was easy enough. Same question. Same answer. And I will hand you back to Kirsten.
Okay, let's give James a big hand. Thanks very much, James. Is everyone cold? No, you're all fine. Okay. Where is Martin? He's there. Would you like to go and get set up? While our next speaker is setting up, I'd just like to say thanks to a couple of people, especially to Leon at the back from Learn for Life TV. Is that right? Hashtag L4LTV. You should check out their YouTube channel. That's continuing professional development for teachers. They've got lots of good content there and more coming up. Thank you so much for running this live stream for us. We really appreciate it. And thank you also to Yuki, whose lovely offices we're in, for letting Leg Up come here every month. We really appreciate that as well, guys. Thank you so much.
Can you put on your computer? I don't want to touch.
Okay, I have to go and do some technical stuff now.
What's the hashtag tonight?
Oh, thank you, Richard. The hashtag tonight is LegUp. L-E-G-U-P. Okay, everyone, we're back. Our next speaker is going to talk about crowdfunding from a film perspective, and he is Martin Gooch.
Hello. Do I need this? Do I need this? Yes, I do. Oh, I do need it. Hello, that's me. There. It's also me. Because I work in film, I spent a long time going through my wardrobe this morning, so I had exactly the same shirt on. I even shaved for continuity purposes. Basically, I wish I've known James for a long time, but I never thought of asking him about this before I did mine. So, can we have a chat before the next one, please?
Very modest rate.
Yes, excellent, excellent. Yeah, I mean, I'm a filmmaker. I've been a filmmaker for 20 years, in my 20th year, which scared me to death when my dad pointed out to me at my birthday, which he said with great glee. I'm not going to introduce myself. I'm going to see if I can get me to introduce myself, because then you will see my little film. Let's see if we can do it.
Hello, I'm Martin Gooch. I'm a filmmaker. Over the years I've made lots of short films and lots of pop promos. Lots of other things. I've got the horn, stop the clock, I've got the horn. And now I've made a feature film. It's called Death. It's a mysterious comedy. It's got action, adventure, mystery, comedy, suspense, a little bit of scariness. Featuring all sorts of people like Leslie Phillips, Paul Friedman, basically lost stop, Nick Moran, Long Stop and Two Smoking Barrels, Lionel Hathaway from Moulin Rouge, and many faces from EastEnders, Hollyoaks, Doctors, and other places. Death is a completely independent film. We raised the money ourselves. We shot the film in January down in Basingstoke and East Grimston and other exotic locations like Swindon, and now we have it in the edit. Peter Davis, who edited 4 James Bond films, has cut our film. Roger Taylor from Queen has given us some fantastic music to have in our soundtrack. Claudia Brookham from Propaganda and Paul Humphreys from OMD have combined forces and given us our fantastic theme tune. And that's where you come in. Like General Kitchener, we need you to help us finish our film. We're looking for a little bit of funding to complete the post-production and get this film ready for film festivals and ready for the cinema. It's a film about a family who come together after their last surviving parent, their father, dies in slightly mysterious circumstances. They haven't seen each other for 7 years, they don't get on, they have to face each other, face the future, but most importantly, face the past, and discover what it is their father has been up to in the last 7 years, spending all their money. There is very little that is more satisfying than being involved in a creative, artistic project that is a success. Think of the excitement of finishing an album, a song, a piece of art, or a film. You can have that experience of seeing your name come up on the credits in a cinema in the West End, which is a fantastic thing. So please help us finish this film and be part of something that's really cool and lots of fun. Thanks very much. Hope to hear from you.
There we go. Rock and roll.
What do you want up now?
I just want to stop it and make sure it's not going to go on to somebody else's film.
Just close this.
Yeah. Oh no. I'll leave that one up. Yeah. Just no more films. So there you go. I'll start at the beginning. So that's me. I'm a filmmaker. I'd been working for a long time, making things like Hollyoaks and stuff, which is great telly and all that, but you know, ultimately you want to make a film. And I'd been to the BFI, which was then the UK Film Council, again and again and again, and I'd been to Film London and the individual film things. Could not get any money at all. Very, very frustrating. And 10 years passed and I couldn't get any money to get it going. So we did a crowdfunding campaign, not this one on Indiegogo, to get the money to start the film. And we did all the things that James told us not to do, and we raised a massive £80. I know. It was very exciting. And with that £80, we went on to do very little. I decided to go out there and just get the cash. So I went out and banged on doors, and I raised quite a lot of money, and I made all of the stuff up to this point. And the problem with low budget filmmaking is you have some cash and you spend it, you have some cash and you spend it, you have some cash and you spend it. You very, very seldom ever get a big wad of cash to do anything. I mean, this is I think 2 years old now, and a lot has happened in 2 years in the is that feedback or? Oh, is it the air conditioning? It's not me. There's a lot has changed in 2 years, and we were offering investors various things anyway, and then someone said, look, you've got to try Sponsume, which is this one. And the reason we went for Sponsume, or Sponsu Me, is that it's UK based, and all those things that James was talking about having your marketing based here and targeting, blah blah blah. We went for that, and we did all this. And interestingly, we were only after £5,000 because it's quite a small film, blah blah blah, and we raised that. But what was interesting for me as an independent filmmaker was lots and lots of people contacted me privately, and they didn't put their money through that. And we raised £7,500 off Sponsoring. Whether this is allowed or not, I've no idea. I don't care. Okay, I got the cash, and we finished the film, and it went on to win loads of awards, including Best Director at Bram Stoker, and is available on DVD in the UK from the 3rd of March. So please buy it. And luckily, I have the book with me. So if you want to buy the book is there, and it will help you work out what to do next. But what I learnt about this was very, very interesting, and we went on to make another film, which is called The Search for Simon, which we made last year, and there's our crowdfunding campaign. And we went to Indiegogo for this one. The reason we went to Indiegogo on this occasion was this was more closer to the beginning of the film. One of the problems, as I said, is you earn money and then you spend it, you earn money, then you spend it. If you're a big company like Working Title or the BBC, you have a development fund, which is all the bits you do when you're writing the film and getting things together before you start making a film, which we call pre-production. Of course, we got no money again, so we shot a whole load of stuff dead cheap, just me and my mates mucking about. I mean, we've been making films for a long time, so we got loads of kit lying around in the houses and tripods and cameras and things. We needed some money to actually pay for some important things like actors and post-production. Post-production mixing sound is very expensive. So we wanted more cash, 15 grand we were after. We got to 3, but someone contacted me and we raised a whole load of other money. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I think it was about 8 grand. So it's probably just under our goal. Separately, and they wanted to actually invest in the company and take a percentage of the equity, which I was happy to offer them because it was such a large wad of cash. So although we didn't fund it here, the fact that we were out there looking for cash raised the money. Does that make sense? So, and oh yes, and that's what I wanted to show you down there, down the bottom. And we were doing exactly what James was suggesting. Oh, it's back to front. So you got your £1 thing, alien abductee, 15 quid, 25 quid, 30 quid, 35, 40, 50, 75, 99, 150, blah, 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 blah. And then our expensive one was 500. We didn't have a really expensive one because we weren't after a huge amount of money. If I'd thought about it, I probably should have put in a 1,000 quid one. That probably would have been a very good idea. But we were very lucky because we had Ian Livingstone. He's in the film, he plays a character, and you all know Ian Livingstone from Games Workshop and Warlock of Firetop Mountain and things like that. So we got him in and he tweeted it, and that really, really got the word out, because if you can link up to the Twitter network, then suddenly people will retweet. They may not give you any money, but they'll retweet it because it's only a movement of your thumb, isn't it, to do something. So if you can get people to spread the word. And we found, although we didn't get a huge amount of money, we did have a huge number of people who were interested, and that we hold on later for when the film is finished, and then we contact them all over again and say you can buy the film now, which is what we're currently in the process of doing right now. So this film, we just won Best Film at the Monaco International Film Festival before Christmas, which was very nice. I had to wear a DJ and all that stuff, go up on stage, and it comes out in June. It's got Carol Cleveland in it from Monty Python. There she is. And we got the Monty Python anniversary reunion thing. So luckily, as if by fate, our film will come out a couple of weeks before their event. So let's have a little look at the trailer on that one. So this time I teamed up with Sci-Fi London, the science fiction thing, and it's a slightly shorter and more basic thing. How do I turn it down? doesn't want to.
Hi, I'm Louis Savvy, and I'm the Festival Director for Sci-Fi London. Our full name is the London International Festival of Science Fiction and Fantastic Film. We've been running for 12 years, and in that time I've seen probably 10,000 shorts and features, all science fiction. Some of them have been great, some of them I've been very critical about, but actually we're putting our head on the block this time and we're producing a couple of films this year. This is Martin Gooch.
Hello, I'm Martin Gooch.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a filmmaker. I've been making films for a very long time, and now we're making our second feature film, but the first film for the Sci-Fi London. It's called The Search for Simon, and it's a British science fiction comedy, a bit like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that sort of thing, all about a man who, when he was a little boy, his younger brother, called Simon, mysteriously disappears and has never been seen ever again.
That's classified.
It's me!
I know where he is.
We're offering you the opportunity to help us finish this brilliant movie. But what's in it for you? Well, once it's done, there's the digital download, the DVD, the T-shirt, the book, and to see your name on the big silver screen.
Using my own shots there, you see.
Chance to be part of the movies. If you love science fiction, help us write it.
So you see, second time around, it was much simpler, and it raised the same amount of money because we had a slightly larger network we were sending out to, because we'd teamed up with Sci-Fi London, and obviously we're making films rather than designing games. So what we are looking for out of crowdfunding is cash flowing things to bring in these extra bits of cash, so we can carry on doing the project. In an ideal world, we would have all the money up front, but unfortunately, when you're making lowish budget films, sometimes it's easy just to go and shoot it and have that bit, and if something becomes available, shoot it. And I hate to say it, but using this money to patch in the little financial holes that we had on our journey, if that makes sense. Other than that, I don't really have any great insight into making it, but what I do think is worth noting is that, as James said, we announced our crowdfunding before it was going to come out. So we told everyone we're going to fund. We even had a 3-day countdown and all that stuff on Facebook and blah blah blah. And virtually all that money came in right at the beginning, as he said. So letting people know is vital. And people, we've also found in selling the DVDs since then, you can now pre-order on Amazon. And when no one could buy it, they'd email me and say, where can we get a copy of the film? And I'd say, well, it doesn't exist yet, and then they'd lose interest. So I had to stop all that until people say, where can I get a copy of the film? And I'd say, oh, you can pre-order it on Amazon now, and click on it. And this worked for us as well on this. When people were building up to the project, if we told them too far in advance, they'd only ever click on something once. If they said, if they went to the thing and it wasn't ready, they'd be disinterested. But if they went to the thing and it was ready, they'd do it straight away. So I think it is about planning, and we had a lot of updates, 19 updates on that one. So we were updating things and adding photos. So when you set the project live, every time you update it, all the investors will get a little reminder, and it's more likely for them to retweet it and remind everyone else. So you need to have we had a stack of photos and a stack of footage, and I'd shot all these little vlogs, which I did 12 of them, and they were already there. So each day we just add a picture, blah 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 blah, and so we already had our campaign planned out before even day one. And then we had a person working for whose only job was the well, not Kickstarter, the crowdfunding, because it does, as James says, it does consume you. You think about it all day long. You go to bed and you think, oh, I'll just check it just before I go to sleep. Check it again, wake up, check it and everything, because you're waiting for the cash to come in. You can't do anything till the cash has come in. So, yes, and in the end, we made our films. It took a long time, but we did it. So I'm all in favour of it. And our next project, we will have a proper crowdfunding campaign, which we've already started shooting the bits to go into the thing to be announced at the end of March. So that's me. Any questions from you? Then fire away. Hello.
Yeah, I have a question which should probably go to both you and James, actually. When you're running a Kickstarter and planning it, how do you get the balance right about how often you inform people about your project so that you're not bombarding them with information and putting them off, do you think?
During the campaign or after the campaign, we sent something out every day.
Every day.
Yeah, we just updated every day.
I don't think it has to be every day. It's if there's nothing to report, then you know, stay quiet. It is possible. There was a while last year where roughly 1 in 2 of every email I was getting was from Kickstarter. It was someone updating their project, going, "Oh, we've added another stretch goal," or "We're thinking about this," and it becomes very annoying after a while. But if there's something to report, if someone else has come on board or you've passed a funding target, by all means notify people. Anything that you think people will then want to pass on that information to other people who may not have previously heard about the project. So it is possible to do it too little, definitely. People worry if you go quiet that they've been abandoned. They like to have their hand held. They like to feel that their money is going or has gone to a good home, particularly after the project's finished. Stay in touch with your backers. They've bought into the project because they want kind of early access. They want to feel part of the special group. So if you then go quiet, as I'm rather afraid I started my project going, oh, this is half done, I'll get it done, it'll take no time, and then I got writer's block on it. It's been horrible. It's going well now, I promise. Hello out there if you're watching. But yes, so stay in touch with people, basically. They can then get in touch with you if people start dropping you lines going, what's happening, we haven't heard from you, then get back in touch.
And of course, don't forget that the people who back your campaign are your potential fan base later on. So if you do another one, and if you fulfill your obligations, you make the book, or in our case, make the film, and you send them out, and they like it, they're going to tell everyone. So exponentially keep your investors happy and informed, because they get excited about it. Their name's on the product.
Just with that, the question about people wanting to know their money's gone to a good place. I know you both said that it was useful to partner up with an established kind of company like Sci-Fi London or something like that. Do you ever find that actually, if you do partner with a big company, people might be less likely to give it, because then when it's quite a modest amount of money, you wonder why they don't just pay for it themselves?
Yeah, sure. Have we had any problems teaming up with bigger companies, depending on people's views of the company should pay for itself? Well, Zach Braff, Scrubs actor, he kickstarted a film and he got $500,000. So clearly people don't have a problem with giving people who've got lots of money more money, because I think they're interested in the project.
You got 3 million.
3 million in the end. Oh, he was after $500,000 and he got 3 million in the end. That's it, yeah. So yes, we haven't teamed up with anyone of that size yet, so I haven't felt the lack of love yet, but it may come. Any other questions, sir?
More an observation that really, in a way, for you, your project, you raise the money outside. It's a bit like the people who go on the Airbnb, rent their house for a weekend, but then do it for a month because they don't want to pay the commission. And it seems to me that your project was far more successful outside. It was really a vehicle that probably intentionally helped you raise that profile, attract some attention, and then find an investor.
Absolutely, but the intention was to raise money. So we raised money via this, and via people found this and then got in contact with me directly because they said, we don't actually want our name on the credit, we actually want something else. We want a trip to the set, or we want to come and meet you and have lunch, or if we give you some money, will you come and advise us on their film? And there was a few fellow filmmakers who got in touch with me and wanted me to do stuff for them, like script editing. So I, quid pro quo, I swapped that work for cash, which I suppose I shouldn't have done. But there you go. Any other questions? No? Excellent. I've said everything then.
Okay, can you all give Martin a big round of applause, please? Okay, so that's our first two speakers. We're going to have a 15-minute networking break now, and it is going to be a strict 15 minutes. If you want to do more networking, we're all going to go to the Perseverance pub down the street afterwards. So could I see you back here in 15 minutes, please?